So, today we're talking about coaching consultations. How do we even have consultations with clients or prospects to convey what we do and even if it's the right fit for them? And I hope that today's content really resets the expectations that a lot of us have about salespeople and sales calls because we're not in the business of selling like something. We're in the business of trying to transform people's lives. And honestly, some of the hurdles that we face are specific to the coaching world, and so I hope this content is specific to where you're at in your journey, because there's a lot of sales content out there, which is valuable, don't get me wrong, but, for example, like, some of the bigger salespeople are selling, like, an item, like a car, or selling insurance, or selling someone else's product, but as we said last week, you are the service. Like, the result, all that you're putting in, you are that product, and so it's important to be able to effectively communicate that. We're gonna go through, how to have these consultations. So, what is even the goal of a consultation? Consultations aren't about selling. They're about identifying the client's needs, offering the solution for their need, and then helping them just decide. They don't have to buy your program. In fact, if your program, you know, may benefit them, but there is something better, ethically speaking, you should probably offer them the alternative because every decision you make, every call you have represents you as a company. And if you're trying to, fit this program where it doesn't go, they sense that like, oh, I'm in this for the money. But if you truly have the heart for service, if you truly are just trying to see if they want coaching, if they are in the right place for coaching, then you really are much more effective with how those conversations go in a consultation. Um, so yeah, the most important thing to remember is how do I best serve my client, even if that means I don't make a sale. So we're going to touch more on all of those details. So the thing that helps me in my consultations is this closer framework. Um, and then, of course, Sam can speak on how she does her consultations, but closer stands for clarify the reason, label the problem, overview the history, sell the vacation, explain away the objections, and reinforce the decision. The reason why I find this so powerful because it helps me not forget the parts of the consultation that matter. I need to know why are they even calling me, right? If they booked a Calendly or if we schedule something, like I need to know like some kind of context to their situation. Are they dealing with debt? Are they having money fights? Are they in a job transition? Just better assess where they are. And then when you kind of gather the information, then you could repeat back. Not only repeating back will validate their experience, but it'll also show them that you're listening. And when you label the problem, sometimes that better articulates what they're going through than what they can explain for themselves. And by doing that, by showing them, I know what problem you're going through and I can label it, that subconsciously shows them, hey, if they know my problem better than I do, they have to know the solution. And so just those two areas are, just getting that context and putting a name to the problem. And overviewing the history is things like, hey, what have you done in the past to try to fix this? Or what was your uh, upbringing like when it came to money? And understanding the patterns from the past so that you can see, are they continually going through this pattern? And I'm going to help them break that cycle. Or maybe they were burned in the past by another coach. So how can I approach coaching differently? And understanding their history, there's a lot more I can go in depth about it. I encourage if y'all look it up. Alex Hormozy has a really several great videos about the closer framework because he did it for the gym world and personal training, which is very similar to doing it for financial coaching or any life coaching. So reviewing that history and what they've done in the past to try to fix their problem. And the S stands for sell the vacation. That means really painting the picture of the outcome they're trying to achieve. And I'm going to repeat it over and over again because this was transformational for my journey. And I know Sam can attest to that too, that people don't care about the budget. People don't care about saving money. They care about what that does for them. They care about the freedom. They care about the outcome. If you're a health coach, they don't care about working out or dieting. They care about what kind of clothes they can fit and how they look at themselves in the mirror. And so what you're trying to do is sell the vacation, not the plane trip. Say, all right, we're going to Hawaii and this beautiful beach. You're going to have all these, amenities, and this resort is like awesome. And just imagine sitting on the beach with your bare feet in the hot sand and all this stuff. You're not going to say you're going to wake up at 5:30 in the morning and pack your bags and then go through the TSA line and just wait for your flight that's going to get delayed. But you're going to be crammed on a flight for about 30 minutes, but it's all going to be worth it, I promise. And you'll have like a snack on the flight. And you see, kind of those things aren't untrue. Like they're going to have to go through that process, but they don't care about the process. They just want to know, is the solution something that I'm even looking for? And then if I have that solution and I know that is where I want to go, I'm willing to put up with the hard work and stuff to get there. And so explaining away objections, this part is whenever you're like offering the service or the offering the service, and then we're going to touch on it in the next slide or one of the next slides, but kind of getting around some of those objections to really understand, is this decision or lack of decision based on the actual product, or are they convincing themselves and they're scared, and the things that are actually keeping them is fear and not really the objections. We'll talk about it more about when to offer your pricing and stuff. And at the very end, when they make a decision, reinforce that decision, validate it, because I don't know about you, when I've made a big purchase, I get buyer's remorse. I'm like, I don't know if that was the right thing. But you as the coach, helping validate they made the right decision is all they need. Say, hey, I'm super excited and looking forward to the transformation that's going to happen in your life, and continuing to reinforce that decision throughout your coaching sessions. So, what are some common objections? Well, there are a lot of objections that are valid, but there's also a lot that's like self BS, that they're limiting beliefs or they're things we tell ourselves because we're afraid. And I absolutely have used this. I've said things are too expensive. I don't have enough time. It's not a good fit. Let me talk to my spouse. That's the one I use like all the time. Sorry, to my wife on that one. And I need to think about it. And these are your most common objections. And it's not rocket science. See, if you just know how to respond to these five, like that will transform how you even approach your conversations. So who here is has ever used these? Because I definitely I use every single one of these. And if you've been on a consultation call with a client, you probably heard quite a few of these too. And if you don't practice this, if you don't think about it really intentionally, you're going to keep getting stumped whenever they give you the objection. And the thing is, it's our profession, is our business. We should be the experts of these objections, right? Because we already know what they're going to say, because it's very common. I've used them too. So by understanding why they're actually saying this, then you can respond better, and you have to practice it. And hopefully, if we don't have time today, or time on another call or something, to be able to do that, rehearse. And you practice for a presentation, you practice for pretty much any area of your life you want to be good at it. Consultations aren't any different. I don't recommend going by scripts and things like that, but learning the scripts first will help you get in the rhythm of it too. So the biggest thing, the most powerful thing you can do is anticipate the objection. It's a lot easier to navigate the consultation call if you take control of the objections before they even mention it. So whenever I do my consultation calls, I'll start asking them. I'm like, the benefit of being a financial coach, you can ask them about their money. You can say, how much debt are you even in? Like, do you even have savings? And they may answer, they may not, but at least it gives you a feel of like, do they have the cash on hand to get started at least? Or is this something I'm going to offer as a payment plan and whatever? The same thing with like the spousal objection. You saying, hey, are you married? Do you share your finances with your spouse? And then you can say, do you want them in on this decision, or is it just a coaching program for you? And see, you don't even have to address that later on because they already answered your question. And same thing with, I don't have enough time. We're going to go into it a little more later too, but how much time do you even have each week? If this is the right program for you, like how much time are you able and willing to commit? Make sure you get that transformation. And anticipating these objections is so much easier than responding whenever you get them. And this really helps get around the self BS, because some people that will give you the objection after the price is never really the objection. And in some cases, these objections are valid, but a lot of cases we just say them because we're too afraid as buyers to make change. And we're in the business of trying to instill hope and initiate that change in someone else's life, which is very challenging. And so, when do you even offer the price in the program? Well, you need to confirm that it's even the need of the client. Because if it's not the need, and they're like, how much is it, like at the start of the call, how much is coaching? I just want to know how much it costs to see if I can afford it. Then you, as a coach, will say, I don't even know about your situation. I can't know what services you need unless I have the information. And if I don't have the right program for you, it doesn't matter what price the program is. And so you need to see the need of the client and the gap between where they are and where they want to go. Show how your program meets those needs and helps them bridge that gap and get to that vacation. Because they're gonna you're gonna keep getting questions. I just want to know how much it costs. Like they don't even want to discuss anything. And we all know now that pricing objections aren't ever about the price. Like, is $3,000 a lot? Maybe if you're buying a computer, but if you're buying a car, it's not much at all. And so really the point of the consultation is identifying the need, showing the program and its value, and actually helping the client identify that value. When you offer the price, you need the decision first. It doesn't matter if they're up in if the price is actually the decision, there's something else behind there. We just have to figure out what that objection is. And that's really hard to do. And so by continually asking, yeah, before I even share the price, I don't even know if this is a good fit for you. And I just want to know, do you see the value in this program? Do you trust that like these steps A through D or E or whatever will get you to where you want to go? Because if you don't see the value of the program, then there's no point in offering the price and the decision before offering the price. So yeah, let's even see if this is the right program for you. And then now, then we can work on the cost. So yeah, navigating those objections. You're working with your client to help them find the solution. Kind of mental picture is that you're not making sales across a table where I'm on one side and then the client's on the other. You're like 90 degrees to each other or side by side. Just say, here's the problem we're looking at, and I want to help you find the solution. Let's do that together. And as coaches, that's one of the most powerful perspectives you can take, because you're working with the client to find the solution. You're not working against them to try to get a sale. And if you find yourself in that trap, which I definitely have, I'm like, they just need to buy the coaching program and I'll fix their problems. That is extremely arrogant, and honestly, that's that commission breath that I was talking about. They sense it even if they don't consciously recognize it. And so navigating some of these objections, really you have to approach it with a sense of curiosity, responding with questions instead of explanations. It's saying, hey, I don't know if I have enough time, instead of saying, well, how much time are you spending on social media? That itself is a question, but really you're trying to challenge them. You can say, okay, if you really wanted to make the change in your life, how much time would you have available to do that? And then they'll answer that question, say, hey, I only have a couple hours a week or 3, 4 hours if I do this and that. Then you can say, my program only takes about 2 to 3 hours a week. Like, it sounds like you'd be able to make that happen if this was meaningful to you. And really approaching those as a sense of curiosity and asking the right questions of getting behind their question. And navigating the objections, you'll also help the client self-identify the program's value. Like, you can tell them, hey, coaching's valuable, coaching's valuable, and coaching's valuable, but that's not as powerful as them saying, I need coaching. Coaching would be valuable to me, because they'll listen to themselves in terms of a buying decision better than the salesperson or the coach. We can definitely get into more details, but that's kind of a high level view of it. And so, ideas for responses for objections, just kind of get your ideas going. So for the time objection, how much time do you spend on social media? You can ask that in an ethical way. I said it kind of aggressively before, but you can just kind of challenge them a little bit too. It's all about tonality, and I think the nonverbal cues, nonverbal communication is so powerful and how you actually convey this. So when you actually have the position of curiosity, taking that will help you with this. I realize I don't fully recommend that question, I mean, that response to it, but really asking them kind of what I said earlier. If you wanted to make this change in your life and you wanted to get this outcome to be out of debt and stuff, how much time are you able to commit? And same thing with the spousal objection, taking the curiosity approach. It's like, okay, yeah, absolutely. I understand. I wouldn't ever recommend you make a decision without your spouse, but what if they said no? If this program is right and you know it will be better for you and your family, like what would you do if they said no? And then they kind of say, I guess I won't do it. And you can respond, if that's the case, are you gonna resent your spouse for not allowing you to take this step to better your relationship? And doing things like that really gets them thinking like, "Oh my goodness, I'm actually blaming my spouse for something that I shouldn't blame them for." And same thing, I use a spousal objection because I had a concern with it, but it's just easier to put it on my wife who's not on the call. And then as a coach, you can say, "Hey, I absolutely understand you need your spouse's input, and you know your spouse well. Like y'all live together. What would their concern be?" And really, that's a way around for them to share the client's concern. Um, yeah, I just think the price is too much. I don't have enough time, or we have other things, and so then you actually address those objections instead. And the "let me think about it" objection, it's like, "Let me think about it." Well, what are they even thinking about? Like your position as a coach is to provide them all the information they need. So there's a few ways you can even address that. One of the most direct ways you can say, "Yeah, sure. What's your main concern?" Um, and that's very direct. If they respond to that, awesome. They may not respond to it. Other ways you can say like, I absolutely understand. This is a big decision that you're making. Just validate their concern and kind of go into that saying, I've done the exact same thing I found for myself is that when I say I think about it, I wait, but I'm not really sitting at my desk thinking, weighing the pros and cons and stuff. And so usually whenever I hear that, there's some kind of information missing. Like if there's some concern with the program typically, or maybe just not like fully confident in the results that you get. So navigating that one can be challenging, and comes with practice, especially how you navigate that rapport that you already had with them. But yeah, usually just saying, yeah, absolutely. And in fact, the fact that you have to think about it, I probably failed on my part in terms of the amount of information or the amount of value I'm trying to convey for the program, saying, "I apologize, I must have missed something. Is there another area of the program you are concerned about that I didn't address?" And hopefully that'll help them open up. At the end of the day, they are the client, and if they really don't want to answer your question, they will absolutely refuse. But this is really the art of coaching and consultations, to understand people and to get behind the words that they're saying. And so yeah, the next objection, it's too expensive. So if you get this, we all know now it's not about the actual price, it's about the value of the product. So really you can say, yeah, I mean it is a good chunk of change, and in a lot of ways that is a positive thing, but what is the cost if you don't address it? If this money problem is affecting your marriage, what is the cost that you get a divorce? Or what is the cost of constantly fighting? What does that cost your mental health? Or if you're in the health coaching space, you can say, yeah, I mean, $3,000 is a lot, for personal training if you can just find information online, right? But what is the cost if you keep on the same path and then now you're going to have to take meds down the line to regulate some of the health conditions? And you have to really focus on what is the cost if they don't do it? What is the cost of waiting and pushing it down the road? If they can start finding an extra $1,000 in their month right now versus a year from now, that's a $12,000 difference. And just showing them what's the cost of inaction. And the last one, it's not a good fit. You know, really as a coach, you say, okay, but based on what your needs are, Is there something in the program you would like to see to help give you confidence for the outcome you're looking for? And if there's not, then cool. I'll find a referral partner that would be a better fit for you and all this stuff. But it's like, let me see what I can add to the program to be valuable to you so that you can achieve those outcomes. Um, yeah, so really at the end of the day, it's about best serving your client. And if you don't have the program for them, you don't have the program for them. If actually during the consultation, you'll learn more about the client too. If the program is right for them, but you see the client is wrong for you, you can tell them, hey, I don't know if we would be a good fit, and then pass them along. And that's one of the hardest things to do too, because as a new coach, you just want to get whatever client walks through the door. And I might have shared this with you, but the first client I got, I made that mistake. I was like, he's breathing, he needs some money help. Let me be that help for him. And I didn't recognize some of the not necessarily red flags, but just some things that didn't fit well. Because I didn't know myself as a coach. I didn't know who I would work with well. People who are party like living very below their means and all this stuff, but have some organizational issues with their money. That's not my strength. So as you're learning, you're gonna make mistakes. All these consultation calls that you fail at or you don't make a sale is a learning opportunity. And I'm telling you, when you first start off, you may fail at 50%, 80% of consultations, but you can learn something every single time. What did I do well that I could repeat? What can what did I do wrong that I can improve on? And then taking those lessons to your next consultation and practicing in between is super powerful. Even just repeating the words, repeating the responses to the questions will get you in the rhythm of it. So yeah, we'll just go ahead with here. That's the content and open it up to kind of some of y'all's questions.
Well, I'll jump in and I put in the chat I set up a Calendly link for my consultation. I was hoping to get some feedback on that, and then maybe um like since I've never really done a consultation because I'm still building my offer and everything too. So during this call, I've been thinking of what types of responses would I have because I'm still fleshing all this stuff out. So I guess I'm there's a lot that I that I need help with. I just don't know where to start.
Like walking through identifying where to start, with when it comes to consultation.
I've been given, so I'm a client on a coach that is a social worker, but yeah, she gave me advice that I need to just kind of peel the onion, ask questions, and really not like what we talked about last time, where I just jumped into the pitch. Like I need to actually, you know, ask these questions and really do the motivational interviewing and trying to figure out like, okay, um, what's like you said, is this a good fit to begin with? So I guess I'm just trying to figure out where do I start with just questions and just getting to know you questions and then not even thinking about the sales pitch. Basically like that's like the last thing in my mind kind of thing is what
Mhm.
I was thinking.
I'll
Yeah.
tell you what I did this week. Really, the two consultations, the three people that I got, they were within like 20 minutes of each other yesterday. So it was kind of like bam, bam, bam. But for the couple that I converted, I really just talked to them like I'm talking to you. I just asked a couple of questions. One's a older woman that has been coached before and decided she could do it on her own and found out that she really couldn't. She has a lot of student loans still. And the funny thing that it's not funny, but for me, it was interesting that she knows she needed an emergency fund and she had $1,000 for her emergency fund. She took out a personal loan for another $2,500 to build up her emergency fund. So I was like, well, how did that make sense? So we just kind of really went through, some steps of what she'd done and she's like, and she follows Dave Ramsey, so that's how I got her lead. But she really said, I just want the 6 minute like they do on the radio and their TV show. And I had to explain, I don't do the 6 minute thing, but once she told me she took out the loan, what I really said, I said, okay, if you really want my 6 minute spiel, here it is. We shouldn't have taken out a loan and to do the emergency fund. That you need to work on and let's do that first. Let's get rid of that debt. And she bought in from that moment on because she knew that she made a mistake. But she wants to, get rid of her student loan that she has. She wants to retire not too long from now. She wants to help grandchildren. So it was just really a personal connection to help her and a talking of through her stuff and where she had been, how she got where she is, and what she wants to do and how she wants to leave some stuff to her children. So it was really about, I'm just getting to know you. And like she said, I interviewed another coach earlier today and she said, I just knew he wasn't the right one. So it really sometimes is about the fit and how you come across to your client. And it was just, we did connect pretty well because we're both around the same age and all of that. But I wasn't trying to sell her. And I didn't say anything about price until she said, I think that this will be a good fit. So what's your price? And I laid it out there for her. And she was like, okay, well, when can we get started? So, she gets paid twice a month. So we kind of waited till the middle of the month to have her very first coaching session. But she is bought in because she knows the value that this is going to bring her. The other client I had basically was she wants to buy a new house and she's wanting to deep dive into her money to make sure that she can afford it. So we kind of went through some things. Can she? We're still going to work that out, but we have an appointment set out for next week as well. So it really wasn't about me trying to sell anything. It really was like Teddy and Samantha said, it's about getting to know them and just asking questions. And it wasn't a part of me that wanted to sell them. If I was good, then great. If they wanted to come along for the ride, I'll help them. But it really was not about selling.
Yeah, I love that. Thanks for sharing that, Stella, especially, seeing that from, you as a newer coach. That gives, I mean, us, Sam and I also like encouragement that this attitude of service and all this stuff, it works, right? And the fact, and when you talked about your price, what was it, last week or the week before? And so hopefully that's giving y'all some encouragement. Oh, people are actually paying money, like a good amount of money for these things. And so, yeah, Stella, your experience is so valuable. So I appreciate you sharing that.
Hey, Teddy. Okay, so I had a client one time. My friend was trying to hook me up with a friend of his. He's like, he's getting evicted. He will be getting evicted before long. Uh, he's about to lose his car and things like that. And whenever I talk to him, he's like, I'm still talking to my friend, and he's saying he wants your help, and then the day of the help come across, and he's like, nah, he decided he doesn't want your help. And then a few weeks later, like, hey, that guy lost his house, he lost his car, he's evicted. And so my friend's like, he really wants coaching now. He sees the value in coaching. I'm like, I can't help that guy. He's got issues mentally. He cannot function, So that's one of the times that I just like, I do not want that client.
Okay, so
And
it wasn't like a question of like, should I like speak to that client? You're just identifying like that client wouldn't be a good fit for you. Is that what you're saying?
right, he wouldn't be a good fit for me because he had mental issues, So he didn't run his finances well, and he didn't run any part of his life well either.
Yeah, I'm like the one challenge I would give to you with that is kind of maybe some of the verbiage that you're using with how saying that I can't help them because they're not good with finances is like saying I'm a personal trainer and I can't help them lose weight because they're too overweight. And so,
Oh,
you know what I mean? Like that I just want you to think.
yeah, I understand what you're saying, but
Yeah.
knowing the whole situation, I'd help somebody that's not good with their finances all day long, but this guy had mental issues that he could not understand what's going on around him. That's the kind of guy he was. He wouldn't listen, and he wouldn't take any advice from anybody. And so that's why I'm saying I could not have coached that person because he wouldn't
Mhm.
listen to anybody.
And probably another lesson too, you're probably learning through that is that the power of really speaking directly to the client, right? If you have a middleman, saying, hey, a friend of mine wants coaching and things like that. And it's like, okay, cool. Like, let's set up and actually have a conversation, because as you can tell, it may not, like, your friend may not have been effective in communicating the value of coaching at the time. Maybe now, like, retrospectively or hindsight, you're saying, okay, it wouldn't have been a good fit. At least you saw that lesson too, that like, let's talk to the clients directly, and maybe reach them before it gets to that point. So you're learning who you're going to work well with and who you may not work well with. So I appreciate you sharing that experience.
Oh, I was gonna say about Joey's link, so it's not necessarily related to what we just talked about, but um I was looking at the link. The 15 minutes, I'm just gonna, this is just my opinion, my perspective is not much happens in 15 minutes. I do my consultations for a minimum of 30 minutes. Usually they wind up going over to 45. So I think I'm just going to wind up changing my time to 45 so my calendar blocks it off the right way. But 15 minutes, you can't really dig deep, like too deep into much of anything in that short of a time frame. Also, looking at your link, it's like it shows that every single day and the same times are available every single day. I don't know about Calendly because I don't use Calendly, but the program that I use Square. And for the appointments, I'm able to do like fake block offs. So it like blocks off 50% of my time that I have available. So it looks like to the consumer that you have appointments and you're busy and whatever, because I think like as a consumer, if I went into your calendar and I was like, oh, like every single time is available, why is every single time available, it would make me question like why you don't have more people on your schedule. So if you, whether you have to manually block off certain times, or there's a way to do that within Calendly. I don't know, Teddy, I think you use Calendly, so maybe you know better than I do. But just to block off some time so that it shows that some time on your calendar is kind of full would give the illusion to someone who's coming to your calendar that you're busier than maybe you are.
No, it's kind of it's basically like creating a scarcity of like, like my time is limited, so
Mhm.
act now kind of thing. Yeah, I like that idea. I guess I just did it based off of just my literal time availability, and I wasn't thinking in that perspective. But I think I'm also in the mindset of like, I feel like I'm on the dating scene like for the first time, and I'm like putting myself out there. I'm like too
Mhm.
available and too accessible, so I need to try to find that balance.
Yeah, because like for example, my hours are from like 9 a.m. to 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I have hours all throughout the day, so people who work can meet after work. People who work from home or have night hours can meet during the day. So like I have tons of hours. But if somebody went to my website and saw that every single day I have, you know, 14 hours available on my calendar, people would be like, what the heck? Because it's also too many options to choose from. So having that kind of like fake block out makes it look like, okay, there's less options to choose from, but it also fakes that I'm busy. So it kind of 2 in 1 tricks their mind into one believing that I'm busy, but also they have less options to choose from, which makes it less overwhelming, if that makes sense.
But yeah, that's what I was just about to add, that it is kind of like you get overwhelmed by the options too. So you want to be available in a good amount of time so there's not as much of a delay between when they reach out to you and when they actually meet with you. But at the same time, it is overwhelming seeing all these circles are blue, right? And it really depends. Like, I block off certain days of the week just for consultations, and but usually, in order to bridge that gap from when they schedule to actual consultation, just give them a call and say, "Hey, I saw you booked a consultation," and just have that touch point to say, really reaffirm their decision of booking the consultation. Say, "Hey, I'm like super looking forward to meeting you," even if it's just a text message. Something as simple as that helps bridge that gap between that, your limited block offs for your consultations while also having that connection. So yeah, that's definitely valuable to share. Appreciate that, Sam.
Yeah. I will say just one thing is sometimes texting clients, like the first interaction texting, can come off unprofessional. That's my opinion. That's not always true for everyone. I will give someone a phone call and then I will email them. But I've even had like cuz I've been applying to like jobs the past few weeks and I've had people not send me an email but text message me um instead of send me an email, and that comes off very unprofessional to me. And so I'm like, I don't even want to work at your company anymore because you texted me instead of sending me an email. Like, I gave you my email for a reason. Please contact me using my email. So that's just maybe that's just a me thing because I grew up in the New York, scene and whatever. But to me, texting someone on the first go comes off very unprofessional. Is that this Teddy? You can tell me. Is that a me issue? It could be.
No, I think that's very valid actually, because I'm listening. I'm like, you know what? Maybe I need to change how I'm doing stuff too, because I think I fall victim to it of like getting in the rhythm of texting like other coaches and networking that way. But like, so this is just like me learning stuff from this group too, right?
Mhm.
I myself am gym
Absolutely.
in a
Yeah.
lot of areas too. So yeah, changing my perspective of like, if they do book, maybe I actually should call them instead of text them first.
Mhm.
And maybe it's just like a habit to be like, all right, let me text because I don't want to talk on the phone. So I appreciate that, Sam.
Yeah, I feel like after have that consult and like maybe first session with them, then like you can ask them like, hey, what is your preferred, or even maybe that's something you put in the Calendly. What is your preferred method of contact? Phone call, text message, or email? And that's something you can do too. Because some people like text messaging. Like I have a client right now who just texts me and is like, hey, like I have a question or hey, whatever. And I have someone who's just like, nope, email only, please. And I'm like, perfect. I love email. I love text messages. Um, I don't love. I need to get a different phone number because now I have like my clients and my personal like text messages like all in one stream, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this gets overwhelming. Having that differentiation and giving them the option of how they like to be contacted is also an option.
Yeah, so yeah, I was listening in and I was thinking a while back that maybe that was one of my faults that I had with some of my other clients because I would text them almost immediately as soon as I got the lead. And I'm like, I just need to get the courage up to give them a call instead of texting them because I think that was where I was going wrong on some of this.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything wrong with giving someone a phone call, right? You can give them a phone call, and if they don't answer, you can leave them just a short message, say like, hey, just saw you book the consultation. I'm super excited to meet you. I'm gonna follow up with an email. If you want to give me a call back, feel free, but I'm gonna send you an email, and if you prefer to communicate through there, that's perfectly fine. And I look forward to meeting you soon. It's just as simple as that. But I think calling being the first interaction and possibly having, that live conversation can be a good first step because a lot of times if you email someone first, and I've learned this the hard way, they disappear. You will never hear from them again. They'll probably block your email or something so that you don't contact them anymore. So yeah, giving a phone call is a good first way to contact someone, but I would always follow up with an email versus a text message just because it comes off more professional.
Yeah, I think that like touching on that point, it's really important to consider that the consultation doesn't start when that schedule starts. It starts pretty much when you meet them, right? Whether it's if they get you through a social media post or a live, or it's that first email, call, text message, that's really when the consultation starts because that's when their impression of you is starting to form. Am I going to trust this person? Do they know what they're talking about? And, if your communication is unprofessional, if you're texting them at odd hours of the night and all this stuff, it's like, um, they may not like consciously be aware of it, but being like, I don't know how I feel about this, and I'm not sure why, but I don't want this coach. So yeah, I think it's so important to talk on that.
Yeah, and also just be responsive. Like, you know, yeah, I know a lot of us, like, at the end of the day, we're tired. But if you see that if you got a lead or you got contacted by a client or whatever, just respond the same day whenever you have the time to, because if you're not responsive, it's again gonna come across unprofessional. Like, my response time is within an hour or two. That's because I am doing this all day long, right? So I'm constantly like on my email and available to people. But even if I got it that same night, I got a response, I'd be like, fabulous, I have my answer, or that's great that I got a response from them. But if they waited until like the next day, I'd be like, unless they, if I message you at 11 o'clock at night, I'm not expecting you to answer until the next day, right? But like, if they email you like 5, 6 o'clock, I would expect kind of an answer that night. That's just my standard of professional. I don't know. It's just an opinion.
Yeah, I appreciate you sharing that.
Well, I'm definitely in the headspace to work on this because it's all green to me, the consultation piece, even in just hearing this discussion, I've been thinking like, okay, let's say I go through the initial consultation process, I ask the right questions, I'm still in my head about like, well, what am I going to charge, or how am I going to, when if they get to that like selling point at the end, like Stella was saying, like you didn't even mention price. So let's say I get to that point, I still don't know how much I'm going to charge, or like I'm brainstorming like, okay, I can do like a basic package, a premium package, and like a VIP package or something like that, where I charge some ridiculous amount. But like, I still don't. I guess I still need some help with trying to flesh out the consultation for me.
Can I challenge you?
Yeah, I'll say go ahead, Jim.
It needs to be done by next week.
Okay. When you say done by next week, what do you mean?
Like, by next week, I want you to have solidified what your offer is. I wouldn't say have 3 packages. I almost feel like that's too much. I feel like you have your package and you have a step down. So if people are like, that's too expensive, okay, we can edit, right? Like we talked about last week, we edit the offer and therefore the price is less, right? So you need to determine what your offer is and your pricing by next week. I want it done. And then I want you to come back next week and we'll talk about it.
Okay.
That's a
Yeah,
challenge to you.
that is a challenge. And I mean, honestly, I would like to do that. We have, but definitely by next week. But I'm gonna work on it, basically, yeah, throughout the week and figure out like, maybe even have a template somewhere that has like an invoice type of thing where I can point to like, okay, this is the breakdown of, and I've been brainstorming this in my head, but yeah, I was looking to get some feedback from you guys and just figure out, okay, what is the right price point? And I guess that's ultimately going to come down to me,
Yeah.
but based off of the market rates and like how much I should be charging, how much I could be charging. So I think I'm in my head a little bit about it, but I'm just trying to get feedback and kind of drill down on what I could realistically charge.
Yep. And I think if you need help throughout the week, like you have questions, you're just like, I cannot get over my mindset on this or anything, you can reach out to me, to Teddy, you can post in the group, like we'll respond to you.
Mm-hmm.
If you are struggling throughout the week with it, or if you want to hop on a call like throughout the week with Teddy or I, just message us and say, hey, I need a little bit of help, and
Mm-hmm.
we're happy to hop on a call with you. But I think the challenge is like that's what somebody did to me last week.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, was it Monday this week, Teddy? They said to me, your
Yeah.
offer, your guarantee, and your pricing needs to be done by next week when I see you. And I had it done that night. Everything was done. because I was just like, you know what? This is the first time someone is telling me this has to be done by this deadline and figure it out. And I figured it out. And then I felt very confident in what I came up with. But you have to like change your mindset to be very definitive. Like you make decisions and you have to like be confident and solid in those decisions that you're making. And that includes your price, right? Because if you're not confident in your price and you're just like, so it's gonna be like $2,500, you know, they're gonna be like, they're gonna pick up on that. I mean, obviously that was an exaggeration, but they're gonna pick up if you're not confident in your offer and what your pricing is. So you have to come up with your offer and, you know, insert the value into your offer, and then your pricing you need to be so incredibly confident in. Because if I go up to someone and I say, well, you know, to work with me, it's $2,500. Shut up, be quiet. Right? And let them respond versus, so yeah, to work with me, it's gonna be $2,500. I know that's a lot. Like I understand that it's a lot. So what I could do for you is, you know, and that kind of goes back to what we talked about last week. It's just a challenge. It's
I
just a
like it.
challenge. We all go through this challenge of not of being kind of in limbo with what our pricing is, what our offer is, what our guarantee is. Like we all are at that point. And I was in limbo until like up until 5 days ago. But now I feel like okay, I have everything done. It's written on a piece of paper, my guarantee, my offer, my pricing, and it's done. Now what? You know.
That's the confidence that I want to get to right there. Is just that, you know, like this is
Okay,
my
but by
price.
next week I expect this confidence.
I like the challenge.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Sam, Joey, and I appreciate the vulnerability on that. It's definitely valuable to see, like, opening up to address those areas and having that accountability. That's it. That's the value. Stella, I saw you unmuted. Did you have some feedback you wanted to give?
I was just gonna say, Joy, you know, as much as we talk about price and getting our set, I will say that I have two different price brackets, quite honestly, because when I work with my families that want to do adoption and in vitro, that's a whole different group for me than such as the lady I'm working with now. So there are two different price points that I put out there, and neither one of them really bulk at it. And so I think it depends. For me, it depends on who I'm working with right now. And both of those price points are set, and I'm not going away. It's just I know which price point goes with which clients.
Awesome. Yeah, yeah. It's kind of this idea of like a behind the scenes menu of options, right? That you don't have to give all that to the client, but at least oh, a client in this situation will be this price in this program. A client will be this price in this program. Um, so yeah, if you do come up with three options, like the basic, moderate, and like VIP, you can have all that, but I wouldn't recommend giving all three options to your client because your services is not like a menu. It's not a restaurant or a movie theater popcorn prices, right? Like it's supposed to be tailored to the client and to what they need. Um, and I fell into that. Like I was like, here's A, B, and C, and then if you pay 4 months in advance, here's the discount. And if you pay 6 months in advance, you get this percent off. And it was chaotic. It was so horrible, y'all.
It's so hard to know your number when you have too many numbers. Right? They say this in sales all the time. Know your numbers. And it's true. You need to know your numbers. If you have too many numbers, price point A, price point B. That's it. There's two options, and that's it. I always offer option A, and if people are like, "That's I can't do that," then I offer, you know, the lower offer with price point B. That's it. And if it doesn't work for them either way, it doesn't work for them. But you know, I have my price points, and it's easy for me to remember because they're just like a step down from each other.
So when you basically come out with your this is my solid price in my package that I push out, but then you offer like a discounted price with less services or
Yes.
okay.
So, like for example, I might, like my top one, I work with people for 4 months on a bi-weekly basis. My lower one, I work with people for 3 months on a bi-weekly basis, excuse me. So obviously it costs less because I'm working with them for less time. And so there's there's a higher price point here, but if I'm offering less services, obviously the price is lower. I'm never going to offer this price for this service. It's just not going to happen. If you want to work with me, it's going to be, it's this for this or it's this for this. It's never going to be this for this or this for this. I mean, this would just be unethical, you know what I'm saying? But I'm never going to lower the price for the service. I'm always going to lower the amount of time that someone's working with me, and it'll be a lower price.
Yeah, I was also brainstorming, like, when I say VIP package, I think I was really looking at more of somebody that needs more attention. So like almost like a tiered system where it's like, okay, I can meet with you once a week versus biweekly, for more money. So that would be like a crazy $1,000 a month package or something like that, where, like I give them, you know, more hands-on treatment or more hands-on attention for more price. So that's kind of what I was thinking about, the different tiers of like, okay, the mid tier would be like my normal tier, and then like I can have like a budget tier where it's like, okay, I'm going to meet with you once a month and we're going to do a check-in and it's going to be like basic services. So that's kind of what I was
Yeah, but here's the
brainstorming,
question
but
I have for you.
yeah.
Do you think that you can offer value to someone by only meeting once a month? Do you
Well, it
think
would
you
be a
can
lower
actually
value,
make change?
but yeah, I guess that's true. Once a month would probably be too little. So I would say probably at least biweekly, like you said.
It's just a question to ask is if
Mm-hmm.
I meet with someone once, like in my mind, I work with people on a bi-weekly basis until we've hit the 4 months. And a lot of times, like, I just say, you have all the tools, go ahead. If people want that kind of continued check-in, then it's once a month.
Mm-hmm.
But to instill all the skills and the value and whatever, I have to meet with them on a bi-weekly basis. And some people decide I want to meet on a weekly basis, but my
Mm-hmm.
minimum is meeting bi-weekly because otherwise they could have a whole month of like going hoorah
Mm-hmm.
and not actually making any progress, and then the
Mm-hmm.
next month I'm trying to clean up the mess that they made the
Mm-hmm.
month before.
Right. Yeah, that's a good point.
It's harder to instill the skills that we teach by only meeting once a month. So there you go, you can have your 2 tiers.
Mm-hmm. I like it.
And like, yeah, I mean, all of this stuff will blur together, right? Because like in order to structure your coaching program, you have to know who you're serving. And when you know who you're serving, then you know where to go to for leads, right? And just kind of like a sprinkle of what that's going to be like. If you are working with, for example, parents, well, then you surround yourself at PTA meetings or at HOA meetings, where parents congregate, right? Same thing if you're focused on veterans, like where do veterans congregate? What kind of Facebook groups are they in? What kind of podcasts do they listen to? Let me see if I can get on those, which I know, Joey, you're doing. Or yeah, like Stella, like with your kinship families and things like that. If you're trying to position yourself, there may be, child placing agencies. You can kind of say, hey, I'd love to do a little webinar for your foster families, different things like that. So it'll all go together. And
I've done some of that with some other nonprofits and stuff in the area. Plus, working with your Chamber of Commerce also is a big one that you can get involved in. There's a lot of good things that way.
awesome. I'm so excited, y'all. I'm excited to continue seeing the growth and continue seeing y'all kill it in a positive way, right? We'll see you next week, and yeah, keep up the awesome work.